Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning back into Hess Hog Sport. Today I have Hog 2 Bailey with me. And Bailey, what are we going to make for everyone today?
A pork butt.
A pork butt. You don't slap the pork butt. You don't have gloves on. But we're going to make a pork butt. And guys, I want to show you the simplest way to make a pork butt. There's a lot of ways out there that do this. There are people that want to put mustard on it or put a spray on it for a binder. There are folks that want to inject it, and those are all great methods. But what we're going to do for everyone today is we're going to keep it as simple as possible. We're going to show you really the low and sow process of making a pork butt, and we're going to take advantage of our RecTech smoker. That thing works like a charm, and that's what we're going to use tonight. So if you want to come closer, you're going to see we've got right at a 10-pound pork butt? Oh yeah, pork butt, 10-pound pork butt. And Bailey, what's something cool that happens with the pork butt whenever we smoke it? What does the weight happen after it's 10 pounds?
It renders in.
It renders down, right? So it comes down to about how much? How much renders out of this? If it's 10 pounds, it's going to give us how much meat?
5 pounds.
Probably about 5 pounds meat, and that's very true. What happens with this is full of all these great juices inside there, right? Now, as we're smoking it, it's going to render down just like she said, and it's going to produce about half. So enough talking, let's look at a couple things. And what I like to do with it is I like to score the fat cap. Now, ideal pork butt, this fat would cover all of this. It would go close to the money muscle, and that's the best part of this pork butt. Now, we're not doing a competition style. That'll be a different video, but if we were really getting after that, I would trim that back, and that would really be the piece of pork we'd be looking for, just for the best bite. We're not doing that today. So all we're going to do with our sharp knife is we're going to score the pork butt. Yeah. Now, when the pork is done, when it's at the point where it's time to get wrapped, the actual fat will start to separate, and we'll take a look at that in the morning after it's had a bunch of time to smoke. I just like to score the top. I think it looks cool. I think it helps get some flavor down in the meat. Because when we're seasoning the meat, guys, all we're doing is seasoning the outer, the top and bottom, right? There's no seasoning going in there. We're just getting the awesome pork flavor, and we're getting some smoke penetration. So we're almost done scoring this. Now, in lieu of using a binder, so there's nothing wrong with a binder. Like I said, I've used yellow mustard. I like using yellow mustard. There's some vinegar taste to that. I use my duck fat spray. I like using that for a binder, but we're not going to do that today. I'm just going to show you how I do it to make sure our rubs adhere to it. Now, we're using our Cosmos. We're using 3 layers of flavor. The first one we're going to apply is Honey Killer Bee. That'll help with bark, and that's sweet. And the second one is Dirty Bird Hot. Again, that helps with our bark forming, and that has got a nice kick to it. It's not overbearing, but it's just a great compliment to that sweet. And then we're going to finish it off kind of lightly with our sweet honey pecan. And enough said about that. If you've had this, you know why we put that on last. So what I like to do is I flip the pork butt over, and I got a knife just to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be trimmed, right? I mean, it's going to render out anyways, but sometimes if something's looking at me wrong, I like to trim it off. And honestly, I got a knife, I want to trim things. But we don't have to do too much work. And what we're going to do from here, we're going to put the rub on, and we're going to let this rub sit for 30 minutes. The last thing you want to do is take a 10-pound piece of meat, have it be so cold you put it on your smoker, it'll cook differently. You don't want that. You want it to be close to room temperature. Now it is pork, I get that, but you don't set 4 hours. But if it's at an hour while it sweats and lets the rub adhere to it, that's not going to hurt anything. So enough talking, let's go ahead and get a rub on there. And we'll get it on the bottom. And the reason why I do the bottom side first is when I flip this 30 minutes from now, we'll be doing the top side. And when we do the top side, I put it on the smoker fat side up. The reason why I do it fat side up is the fat, as it's rendering down, Bailey, that brings the juices down. And to me, I think it gives it a little bit better flavor. So if you get a little bit closer, you can kind of see our rub profile already. And that's just with, again, our Honey Killer Bee and our Dirty Bird Hot. And now we're just going to go light with our sweet honey pecan. And I tell you, like I said, I'm cooking on my RecTech, and I'm using my smoker ring pellets. Now, I've recently started using those, and guys, I'll tell you, I don't know anything better out there. than the smoker ring pellets. We're going to use a maple hickory cherry blend for our smoke tonight.
Yeah.
I like the way it works, and I'm looking forward to it. So enough talking. We're going to let this sit for 30 minutes. We're going to flip it over, and we'll be right back. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
Okay, Bailey, it's been 30 minutes so far, and if you want to come close, you can kind of see what we're talking about as far as how it makes the meat sweat a little bit, how it draws that moisture out of it a little bit. How's it looking to you, Bailey?
It's looking really good.
It is looking really good. So all we're gonna do, right, we're gonna flip it over. And you wanna make sure you get your sides. That's equally important, right? And we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna start with what? A honey killer bee.
Yeah.
I love honey killer bee. Get a good coating of that, right? And that's a nice sweet to it. And after we get our honey killer bee, we're going to use our Cosmos Dirty Bird Hot. Again, right, it's a good complement to that sweet that we just put on there. Oh man, it's looking good already. So we've got a Dirty Bird Hot. And then lastly, we're going to finish it off with our sweet honey pecan.
Yeah.
And again, we go light with that, right? We don't need a whole lot with that. We've already got a sweet, but that pecan that we put on there is just a nice finishing rub to what we've got on there. So from here, we're going to let this set 30 minutes, and we're going to let it do the same thing that it did on the bottom. After that, Bailey, we're going to take it out to our smoker. I've got our smoker set at 200 degrees, and from a time standpoint, I'm going to let it sit at 200 degrees for 8 hours.
Yeah.
We're not going to touch it. We're going to let it smoke. Nice smoke bath. So we'll see you in 30 minutes outside, and we're putting this bad boy on the smoker. Thanks for watching. Okay, Bailey, so it's been an hour that we've let our rub sit on our pork. We'd start to sweat it out, and it's looking great. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about is what we're going to do outside. So we've got our Recteq set at 200 degrees. The wood or pellets I'm using are the smoke ring pellets. Like I said, guys, that's the best stuff I've found out there. And they've got several flavors, and I haven't found a flavor I don't like, Bailey, so I'm really happy with it. So we've got that going, and what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. Now, I'm not going to rotate this or do anything since I'm just cooking one, and you need to be mindful when you're cooking something for a long period of time of understanding your hot spots. Since I know where the hot spots are on my smoker out here, I'm okay with where I'm going to place it. If you were doing, let's say 4 or 6 butts out here, you would probably want to rotate it every 2 or 3 hours, and you're just going to pick up and twist, but you want to rotate it so it's not sitting on a hot spot and one of your pieces of meat, or maybe even 2, cook a little bit quicker because of where they're placed on the smoker. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, and I am using my duck fat, and I'm just going to spray the grate. It's just a habit I've always had. So we're going to open that up, we're going to spray it, and a good coat on there, and from there we'll close it. I don't want to lose all that smoke, but I want to just kind of show you what the butt looks like. So if you want to come a little bit closer, you can see where the rub's adhered on there. You can see where it's sweated out a little bit. When I put this on here, remember we talked about inside, that's the money muscle. So I want to put that actually away from the heat, because that's the most tender part of this pork butt. Now we're going to pull it, but you can still taste the difference. So we will put this side closest to, I mean, you want to call it a fire source, I guess, but closest to where I know the hot spot will be. So I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to set it on like so. Just like that. And again, money muscles away. We're going to close this, and I won't open this for 8 hours. Now, when we do open this 8 hours from now, Bailey, we're going to sleep well tonight because the Recteq never lets us down. But when I open that, I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as how the fat separates. Now, cooking at this low of a temperature, it won't be done. My best guess is will probably be 160, maybe 165 degrees. If I'm guessing, it might be lower. I doubt it's going to be any higher. Then after that, we're going to wrap it and kind of show people what that looks like, and we'll up our temperature most likely to 250. So enough talking. I'm ready to go inside and call it a night. What about you?
I'm sleepy.
She's sleepy. All right, we'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks for watching. Okay, we're just over 8 hours into the smoke bath where we put our pork butt. Hog 2 Bailey, she wasn't ready to wake up yet, so she'll be here for later on in the video. Well, we're gonna go and open this up. This is the first time we've opened it, so let's just see. Oh yeah. So if you want to come close, you can just see just a couple things. See the bark starting to form really nicely on it. You can see where the fat's starting to separate. And again, this has just been at 200 degrees. And we're just going to take a couple readings and just see what our temp's at. So we're at 150 there. The money muscles 155, 156. Here we're at 148. And we're at a 161. So plus or minus 5 degrees all the way around. What we're going to do from here is we're going to bring this inside and we're going to wrap this. What will happen is this is going to go through the stall, and in wrapping this, it'll help accelerate the cook. It'll keep all the juices together, and to me, I just think it makes it taste just a little bit better. So we'll see you in a minute. Thanks for watching. So we brought the pork butt inside, and what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap the butt. I've taken the smoker and turned it up to 250 degrees, and this wrap time will maybe take 3 hours for it to get to, let's say, that 205 mark, that probe tender temp that we're looking for. I wish I could say there's an exact time to it. There's not. You just have to start probing it. You don't want to do it after an hour, being that was at 100, say the average was 160 degrees. It still has to climb 45 degrees. But with it being wrapped in the foil, double wrapped in the foil, it does help accelerate that. So all we're going to do, we keep it pretty simple, right? I like to just get 2 pieces of foil, make kind of a cross pattern, if you will. Put just a little butter down. You can use stick butter. Today I'm just using some Parquet butter for it to sit on. After that, we're going to put a little sugar in the raw. And you can use brown sugar, whatever you want to use. Having a little technical difficulties with my sugar, but here we go. That, and then some maple syrup. I really like using maple syrup. I used to use honey quite a bit. I learned the value of using this maple syrup, and that's what I use. And all this stuff, guys, you can just go to Walmart and get. It's pretty easy. So from here, have you kind of come a little bit closer, you can kind of see, again, the bark's forming on the butt. It just looks great. If you could smell that, I tell you, you'd have a hard time not wanting to dive into it right now. So we've got it on the foil, and then from having it on the foil, we're just going to put some butter, a little cross pat or X is fine, across the top, a little more sugar. There we go. Sugar in the raw there. You're not hurting anything. This is sweet. This is what you want, right? And then, again, just some syrup. Just across the top. Some people want to use a barbecue sauce, that's fine. Sometimes I'll use a vinegar type barbecue sauce. I'm not going to today, but that does help. Now that we've got it on there, and you can kind of see, we keep it simple. I'm going to wrap it. The reason why I double wrap it is, one, I guess really the most important reason is it protects it better. If you puncture a hole on the bottom, your juice is going to run out, and that defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do with the pork butt. Wrap, wrap. Now what I like to do, just to be on the safe side, is I put it in one of my foil pans right there. Set it in like so. We're going to take this back out to the smoker at 250. See you guys in 3 hours. Should be ready to go then. Thanks for watching. Okay, so it's been 3 hours, Bailey, since we wrapped it and had it at 250. What we're looking for is 2 things. We're looking for it to be probe tender, and what that means is when you take your, however you check your temperature. I like to use a Thermapen. You use whatever works best for you, but it's going to kind of go in there like butter. And if you're looking for a temperature, it can be anywhere from 198 to, I've seen as high as 210. I really think 210 is a little overdone, honestly, but it's just what works for you. So we're going to open it up real quick and see where it's at. And if you kind of get close and just kind of see what I mean by that is it just goes in like butter. So that's at a 205, 207 there. And on the front side again, like butter. And you're checking, that's a 202. Oh wow, that went right in there. It's a 202. And then as we go right there in the middle, 198. That's on the bones, that doesn't matter. Oh yeah. So this is done. So here's the deal. Once you get it to the temp, here's the biggest mistake I've seen and I've personally done. You will not let it rest long enough. I'm gonna take this inside right on this tray, and it's gonna go, and I'm gonna put a piece of foil over it, and I'm not gonna touch it for 2 hours. Don't try to pull this 30 minutes after it's done. It's too soon. You've already spent 12 to 14 hours doing this. Wait the next 2 hours, and you will make the best pulled pork you've ever made. We'll see you guys in 2 hours. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bailey, it's been 2 hours. The house smells wonderful. We've let the pork butt rest, and if you want to come close, you can kind of see what I was talking about where the fat was going to separate. We've had that happen right there. And now the fun part, now we're going to pull it. Now I always encourage you to have gloves on, and I have cotton gloves underneath these, Bailey. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the bone out, and usually, not usually, if you've done it right always, the bone should pull out pretty simple. So that pulled out pretty easy. That means we've done a good job. And I guess just before we even pull into it, you can, if you want to come close, you can just kind of see where there's a smoke ring on there, which is great. And what we're going to do is, what do you say? We'll go ahead and just shred this thing?
Yeah.
So if it's done right, you can use the claws. I don't really ever think you need to use claws if you have the gloves on, you've done it right, but you can just see how this just pulls right apart. So with it does. With it pulling right apart, that tells us a couple things. One, we did our job right, and two, we're going to be eating really well. When you're pulling it apart, it's just something to keep in mind. There is some fat that you're going to come across in there that you don't want to eat, so it's okay to throw the fat part away. There's a good looking section of the bark we were talking about. And something else I always recommend people to do, after you've got the pork pulled, and if you want to do it right away or if you want to wait until you're going to eat it, make sure you hit it with some seasoning again. The reason why is this pork right here, you can see that right there, there's no seasoning on there. There's the flavor of the pork, which it tastes wonderful, right? But if you want to have that overall great taste in your pulled pork, it helps to re-season. Now you can just take one of the 3 rubs and sprinkle it over that, right? Or you can go through and mix them together and make basically a finishing rub or a finishing powder. I like to do a finishing powder. I've always had better luck with that. I think it's just a good pep in the taste, but you do whatever works for you. Bailey, I think we've spoke enough. What do you say? You want to get a piece and try it?
Yeah.
All right, let's get from over here, and you let everyone know what you think. There's your piece right there. I'm gonna get a little of this bark, a little of that fat. To be honest with you.
That's good. I got a little bit of the fat, but it tasted good with the pork. It tasted really good.
Well, good. So we've had great success, and guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps. We look forward to cooking for you in the future. Thanks again.
Bye.